that opens up the cage to go into the cloud to sweep around. How's that access? Who can know where your bytes are? You know, you go to AWS, you go to any of these clouds, it might be here, it might be there. You know, when we're building out these environments, you can walk up to the RU and point to it because we're able to from a compliance point of view, but that also brings in other risks, physical risks. Segregation of duties. Who does what? If that isn't clearly defined, that itself brings more security risks. So when we talk security, this is what we found, is that it gets a much larger picture. What policies do the clients have? What else is out there? What do we have to be concerned about? Are we trained? Are you guys trained? There's going to be, in that segregation of duties, there's going to be things that we have to make sure that we maintain certain measurable training that we can provide to you. Those are key differentiators. Reporting, that is a big one. So what's reporting? Reporting is every month, this is how much you have to pay from a cloud. Reporting, this is how much CPU you used, this is how much memory. Well, what happens if there was a potential breach? Somebody was trying to get in. How do we report that to you? How do you know when stuff like that happens? That's a big concern when we talk about reporting to the clients. Auditing. Who's watching the watcher? That becomes a big thing. Who is auditing? Are you auditing our stuff and we're auditing our own stuff? Are we auditing what you're doing? How do we manage that? How do we give you a clear understanding? But then again, we also have to know an understanding of what you're expecting. Once again, when we start talking about this, it really starts showing that here's a physical box, but everything else around it is what actually makes the solution a correct solution for you. Change management. Employee turnover. On our side, on your side, how do we make sure that we're in alignment? I mean, I hear horror stories all the time of somebody who has a cloud product and then they go and do a user, you know, their annual and find out that there's 70% of the people needed to be cleaned out. That's not good when we talk about compliance. Most of our clients that we're talking to are companies like FDA and manufacturing. And they really need the processes lined out. They need to know what we're doing. And we need, as an advisor, to protect them. That is a very key piece, is we play not just a provider of a solution, but we're also, you know, a sounding board. What is it that you want to do? Do you want everybody to have root access? I'll do it, but I really don't think you should do that. Everybody needs privileged access. No. So we give that kind of sounding board. This becomes even more when we talk about specific verticals. You know, finance verticals, FDA verticals, they all need different kinds of compliances. Just from a data center. Once again, going back to assumption, we have to assume certain things that are being done in the data center. You can't assume. You can't assume. So what we do is we make sure we have a clear, and when I say clear, I mean absolute ironclad clear understanding. What compliances do you need? What do we have today? Yes, we have SOC 1, we have SOC 2. Oh, you're an FDA client. You need installation qualification. You have FDA Type 2 that you need. Those are the things that we need to clearly understand what your business needs for us to frame out the entire security package around your environment from a solution point of view. Data sovereignty. Well, I had a nice conversation with a gentleman just a couple days ago that's in Germany, and it was, I need help. And that's our idea is, do you need data sovereignty? Do you need segregation of that? Do you have global, are you a global company that you need that kind of data segregation? Industry, that is the biggest one because every single one has a different. When we talk about finance, when we talk about manufacturing, and when we talk about FDA and medical, PCI, those are things that are key to us ending up putting together a full solution. Global, once again, where's your data? What, you know, do you have an office in here, an office in Bangalore, and you need to have data in certain places? You say, oh, I'm sorry, I need to have it delivered over Citrix to certain locations. Well, maybe we can't have the data residing in the United States now. Those are things that we have to clearly understand what your needs are for us to be able to provide. Auditing. That's a big one, especially when we talk about global. We talk about FDA. You know, we get calls all the time to say, I would like to have so-and-so come into the physical data center to be able to audit what is going on. We need to physically see this. It's not just, we trust that you're giving us documentation. And we do that. If that's a necessary piece, we do that. So when we talk about this, it's a much, you should have seen this slide first. I think Warren and I went through it and there was 45 bubbles around here. And we said, it shows how complicated it is. What we provide, it's not difficult. With the help of Oracle Engineered Systems, it makes a piece of it very, very simple. There's processes that go through. But then everything else that I've talked about, there's processes around each one of those. How we get you the data, what are the assumptions, what does the data center look like, where is the data residing, all those kinds of things. Those sometimes are assumptions. Do I have power in the data center? Do I have air conditioning in the data center? Those are things that are assumptions that we have to make sure that you understand what our solution looks like. So, an overall lesson that came out, we sat down and we said, well, what do we want to do from a, what did we learn as we were building this out? Well, the first thing is, conformity is the jailer of freedom and the enemy of growth. There is no way we can expect you to conform if all we're doing is providing you one thing. It is a learning piece from our part as well as your part. The understanding that everyone is unique. Every client, every conversation I have, this week specifically, I've probably had 24 conversations with people, and I swear to you, not one was exactly the same, except for I really wanted on a supercluster, I really wanted on a PCA. That was the centerpiece that we talked about. Everything else around it, absolutely individualized. No matter how big of a hammer I give you, that square peg is not going to fit correctly in that round hole. And people try to give a bigger and bigger hammer. Evolve or die. Everybody, this is why we're here. Why we're here this whole week is because we've all recognized that we need to evolve to move to the next level. We have to work together to come up with a solution. And that's what Dimension Data provides. We take the pieces, put everything together, and provide you a solution. That is our value. Now, I wanted to make sure I got through to this because I'm sure if anybody has any questions for the team, I wanted to make sure that we had plenty of time. Does anybody have any questions? I know it's Thursday, I know it's early, well, not too early, but yes.
Yes, and most of the shop has Oracle and SQL Server, and we're here talking a whole lot about Oracle.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you see the integration of the two systems now being handled by cloud service? Because I think most of people will have the challenge for that.
So I'm going to clear up one thing. We say cloud services for Oracle, that is a branding from Dimension Data. So this is not using Oracle's cloud. So I want to make sure I clarify that. So yes, one of the things that our solution that we've done is we provide the supercluster and x86 workloads, so that, because we have people who have NT 4.0 boxes that say, I need this application that's from 1995 still supported. How do we have that integrated? That's all part of us pulling together the entire solution. Is yes, we can have SQL in there, we can have any x86 workload residing with our supercluster and everything else for us to be able to have full integration.
I think it goes back to Mike's point earlier where you'll bring in a system from a client and they'll say, okay, they want to bring in their EBS application as an example. That EBS application might have, to your point around, it'll have another touch point in terms of a smaller application running SQL Server, and that would be, based on the design, it most likely would need to sit in the cloud as well. So we provide for that and we design the solution out to make sure it either sits in the cloud or we build an integration and a secure integration between on-premise solution and the EBS portion sitting within the cloud.
Any other questions? The takeaway here is always remember it's not difficult. There's just steps that have to be taken, and understanding. That's the biggest piece, and that's what we're able to provide is an understanding of how to put the entire picture together.
And I think I'm just going to add one more thing. So Mike from Michael Ramshan and Michael Wilcox had a few discussions around, you know, how simple it is and easy it is in the Oracle engineered systems world around, you know, making that, designing or bringing together the legal entity multi-tenancy. There was still a lot of work that had to be done in that world. I mean, and that's why we initially engaged with Oracle 3 years back, and we built the entire solution, and we went through quite a few iterations of R&D to build the solution out. And today we've got a working solution around legal entity multi-tenancy. So I just want to emphasize that point as well.
Thanks, Warren. Did we finish on time?
Yeah.
A couple minutes early. I want to thank everybody, and we're going to be around, so if you have any questions that you don't want to say out loud, you want to come over and say, I still do have 3.5. Come on up, we're going to be around. Thank you, everybody.